it's me, Beau, film scene investigation, back once again with another cult movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the controversial 1999 Stanley Kubrick movie, Eyes Wide Shut. If you haven't already, guys, please do subscribe. It does help as I'm trying to grow the channel. And let's get into it. So, up until a few days ago, I'd never actually seen Eyes Wide Shut before. First and foremost, I am a fan of Stanley Kubrick. He obviously, produced some amazing cinema in his lifetime. I've seen a bunch of his films and I've read up about him quite a lot over the years. As for Eyes Wide Shut, I first heard about the project many years ago when I was exploring Kubrick's filmography. I had seen the movie trailer before, I was familiar with the movie's poster, and I think I'd even seen some behind the scenes footage online. Yet I never got round to actually sitting down and watching the film. I've since thought about my reasoning behind that, and I think it came down to the fact that this is a multi-layered film that defies any simple interpretation. And so going into it, I knew I would need to give this film my full attention. The film, starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, would turn out to be Stanley Kubrick's last feature film before his death in 1999. And since its release, the movie has definitely garnered a lot of controversy over the years regarding the film's true meaning. But now I have seen it and I want to give my thoughts on this intriguingly dark story. Tom Cruise plays Dr. Phil Harford, a successful doctor with his own practice, beautiful wife, Nicole Kidman, a daughter, and a swanky high-end apartment in Manhattan. At the start of the film, we see Bill and his wife Alice attend a Christmas party hosted by one of Bill's patients, Dr. Victor Ziegler, played by the late Sidney Pollack. Ziegler is a successful businessman who clearly has a great deal of wealth. We see this on screen with the lavish, elegant home he and his wife live in. Fairly soon after the couple arrive at the party, Bill and Alice go off on their own and mingle with other guests. It's not long before Alice is flirting with this older Hungarian man who seemed to have no qualms about seducing another man's wife so openly. This guy gave me creeper vibes, to be honest, and I actually expected him to maybe show up sometime later on in the film, but he doesn't. Also, given how Alice was so flirtatious in return, it made me think about Bill and her's marriage. I mean, that kind of behaviour gave me the impression that the two were maybe in some sort of open relationship. Separately, in the other room, Bill is flirting with two attractive women before he gets called upstairs to assist the host, Victor Ziegler. He goes upstairs and he discovers a half-naked Ziegler and a naked prostitute overdosing on a chair. I mean, just 10 minutes ago, the guy was downstairs with his wife greeting guests. The next thing, he's upstairs doing drugs with a hooker. I don't know, man, this guy clearly was an immoral scumbag, and Bill, being the professional that he was, just got on with helping Mandy. After everything turns out to be okay, Ziegler asks Bill to not tell anyone about what just happened, introducing this ongoing theme in the film of don't ask, don't tell. In regards to the party scene, initially I was wondering where exactly was this going. We spend a good 15-20 minutes of screen time at this event, and I was questioning its overall significance to the plot. Upon reflection, I see it now as an introduction to the lifestyle of decadence and degeneracy these people lived in. The Christmas party really showed the attitudes and behaviours of that specific social scene and nicely set up the type of sordid characters we would later see Bill interact with. The next night, Bill and Alice smoke some weed at home before Alice tells him that she once fantasized about leaving him for another guy. While Alice seemed quite amused about the whole thing, this revelation rocked Bill. In fact, once Alice's sex fantasy is revealed, Bill's attitude towards her changed. It was like Bill couldn't handle the fact his wife could even contemplate being with someone else besides him. He seemed to have this semblance of revenge against her for even thinking about being unfaithful. And Bill only added to his own paranoia by envisioning his wife in bed with this mythical military man. This sets Bill on a road to strange encounters where he meets a variety of shady characters in the city. It seemed that Bill was determined to indulge in some wild behaviour that, for me, reeked of insecurity on his part. Bill attends an old jazz club and seeks out his old medical school friend Nick Nightingale, now a piano player. The two get talking, and through conversation, Nick, played by actor Todd Field, reveals he's heading to a fancy dress event, a private ceremony where a wild party will take place. Bill, feeling spontaneous, wants entry into the event, and while initially Nick was reluctant, he eventually tells Bill the secret password for entry. So Bill travels to the private party dressed in a black cloak. He gives the password and gains access to this grand estate building. Upon entry, Bill discovers a satanic ritual taking place. Now, when it comes to this movie, Eyes Wide Shut, the sex ritual scene is one of the most intriguing aspects of the film. Before we get into specifics, just on a visual level, this scene was wonderfully filmed. The movement of the camera, the lighting, the slow, brooding piano piece accompanying the scene only added to the drama and tension. The entire sequence was bizarrely surreal, and it felt demonic with its intensity. So we have this ritual where various young masked women are being led off to have sex with other masked guests. The orchestrator in all of this is a masked man in a red cloak. His true identity is never revealed. Bill's attempt to gatecrash the event ends in failure when he is both literally and metaphorically unmasked as an imposter, causing major hostility towards him. Before any serious harm can be committed, a masked woman we'd later find out was Mandy, the prostitute overdosing in Ziegler's apartment. She speaks up for Bill and accepts punishment on his behalf. Now, I know some people downplay and dismiss the whole conspiracy theory around the elite secret societies. To some, it may feel silly to connect this stuff to Eyes Wide Shut, but personally, having sat back and thought about it, I really do feel that Stanley Kubrick was trying to expose a dark underworld that he knew existed, specifically child sacrifice. Taking into account the more recent revelations in the news about the real-life elite paedophiles like Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Savile, I think it's fair to say that such sordid and utter disgusting acts have occurred and still occur to this day. The facts that we do know indicate large sums of child sex trafficking taking place across the whole world, and it's a lucrative business for the criminals. Having that mindset, knowing that stuff indeed goes on, made me interpret the women seen in the occult ceremony as children. Kubrick was a master filmmaker, and nothing was coincidental in his work. There was reasoning behind the decisions he made. And it wouldn't surprise anyone to discover the elites, the top 1%, all sleep around, have affairs, take drugs, get involved in wild sex parties. These stories get out, they get leaked. We know that kind of sordid stuff goes on. For them, that's tame and nobody really cares anyway. But child sacrifice? That's a whole new level of demonic behavior. To us, it's disgusting, but to some of them in the upper echelons of higher society, it's the ultimate taboo. And let's face it, Kubrick couldn't, outright depict this depravity on screen. I mean, if he did, his life would be in danger, right? So Kubrick gave the audience subtle clues to what was actually going on. Kubrick had done advanced research into occult practices years before production even began. Now look, I don't believe that Stanley Kubrick originally intended to make a film about this dark subject matter. I believe at some point he went down the rabbit hole and uncovered more than he bargained for, resulting in what we saw in Eyes Wide Shut. Once again, nothing he did was coincidental. I mean, the film's title is a play on the words eyes wide open. It's the opposite, eyes wide shut, closed down, gone. I interpreted the title as Kubrick describing his own situation that he found himself in once he discovered this sordid material in the mid-90s. Such ceremonies have taken place in real life, yet the general public knows nothing about it, and the ones that do never speak about it. And the movie stars Nicole Kidman. Kidman. That was a clear strategic decision by Kubrick to cast an actress with the word kid in her name. Like, to some, that might be a bit of a stretch, but Kubrick was meticulous in his actions. I can't see it any other way. Now let's discuss the fancy dress shop and what happened there. While in need of a costume, Bill comes across a very young girl, the daughter of the shopkeeper, played by Lily Zbyszko. The actress was a child star and aged 15 at the time of filming Eyes Wide Shut. In the movie, we see her character involved in some sexual escapades with two older men. The scene's played for laughs, with the two men acting all embarrassed that they got caught with the shopkeeper shouting at them. Then later on in the film, when Bill goes to return the fancy dress costume, we see the girl once again with the same men. Suddenly, everyone is polite and friendly to each other, as if what took place the night before didn't happen. Almost like some sort of agreement has been made, or just weird stuff. But going back to Kubrick, this was his way of exposing the human trafficking aspect. The girl was supposed to be the daughter of the shopkeeper, yet I saw her as a victim of child sex trafficking. The girl, likely a child trafficked from a young age. Kubrick, once again, strategically cast a very young looking teenager for that role. And Tom Cruise is there, Bill, he realizes something isn't quite right, but doesn't inquire any further. Once again, going back to the theme we were introduced to at the beginning of the film, don't ask, don't tell. Later on, we find out that Bill's friend Nick Nightingale, the piano player, had quickly left town the morning after the ceremony without saying goodbye. With suspicious activity going on, Bill becomes increasingly more paranoid and fears for his life. There's more I could say, but I'd be here forever. But just to jump to the ending, there's an extremely ambiguous end to Eyes Wide Shut, and it's hard to even speculate what the actual outcome was, but I'm going to speculate anyway. For me, I got the impression that Bill and his family were being watched by someone from the occult. Even though Bill was warned at the time, I feel he would likely be blackmailed at some point down the line for what he saw that night. Just speculation, but that outcome makes the most sense for me. And so, dislikes for Eyes Wide Shut 1999. So I briefly mentioned him already, but my biggest dislike for this film would have to be the French shopkeeper, Mr. Milic, played by actor Rade Sebestia. For me, the character was over the top, and I would have preferred a more reserved character rather than the comical one that we got. I don't know exactly, but it kind of seemed like Kubrick was trying to introduce some comedic element into the film. On first viewing, I didn't fully grasp why Kubrick went this route with the character, but after giving it some thought, I gathered the comedy vibe was inserted to throw off any sense of evil, because ultimately I see the Mr. Milic character as a child slave owner whoring his supposed daughter out to older men. But at first glance, I didn't take the character seriously, and it never crossed my mind he would be doing such things. And that was all down to the light-hearted approach the character had. Hey, I help you, no worry, I find your cloak. Well, this is good, you like. And that's the point. It was a disguise. The guy owned a fancy dress shop. He was acting the whole time in front of Bill. And it's like, the scene plays out, but like this whole film, it's got, so many different layers, so you kind of have to go back and rethink and take notes and go, hang on a second, and it kind of all ties up that way. My other dislike for Eyes Wide Shut would have to be the continuous piano music that we heard throughout the film. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it definitely felt repetitive towards the end. It's slow and plodding at times, and I guess I would have preferred some more variety from the British composer Joe Pook. The score does its job, but that specific piano piece, dun, 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 yeah. Indeed, it was overused and it became a nuisance at the end. And so, ratings for Eyes Wide Shut. I'm going to be rating this movie a solid 6.5 out of 10. It's a very interesting film that people should definitely check out if they haven't seen it. On the surface, and this has been said by other reviewers, the movie isn't necessarily that exciting. The pace is slow, which definitely could be a turn-off for some. But knowing the other aspects, it's a compelling story that provokes thought in the viewer. It's worth mentioning actor Tom Cruise here for a moment. These days he's Mr. Action Man with the multiple Mission Impossible sequels that he produces. But having recently watched Eyes Wide Shut, it reminded me of how good Tom Cruise can be when he wants to be. When you look at his filmography, he really has starred in some amazing movies like Rain Man, Magnolia, Vanilla Sky. All those projects, showcase his talents. And I think that side of him has gotten lost over the last decade. But one day, I hope he returns to more drama-based material. What I think makes this movie work is this occult secret society context that we know goes on in the world today. Applying what we know about the Epstein client list, then watching Eyes Wide Shut, it comes across as a hidden message Kubrick was trying to convey in his work. I also got the sense that Kubrick was trying to show the different masks that people wear in life, the various personas and disguises that people adopt throughout their relationships with other people in society. And I think coming to terms with accepting the reality of human imperfection is a part of an undeniable theme in Eyes Wide Shut. The depravity that humans can stoop to. There's so much more I could talk about, but yeah, nevertheless, a good movie, an intriguing film, a dark, dark story, and if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. I will see you all very soon. Take care. Bye bye.